will enable the organization to leverage the benefits of the cloud, even while working in harmony with the existing on-premises IT. CIOs, of course, understand that they need hybrid IT for a variety of reasons. Flexibility, speed, access to new functionality, efficiency, costs, compliance. We all know the reasons. But the challenge is to make the right decisions when it comes to hybrid IT, who to partner with, what options to select, how to manage the deployment and operations to reduce the risk, and how to make it a success. To shed more light on these aspects of the journey to hybrid cloud, we have an array of experienced and knowledgeable speakers today. I would urge you to listen to them attentively and benefit from their expertise and experiences. Before I invite the first speaker, here is a quick announcement. We have a simple contest and some prizes to be won. For the first 20 creative posts on Twitter using the tags hash CIO and leader masterclass and hash accelerated digital, we will be giving away a rupees 500 gift voucher to each of those 20 creative posts. So do make some interesting Twitter posts during the session and you can win this voucher. Just a reminder, use hash CIO and leader masterclass, hash accelerated digital. So look forward to seeing your posts on Twitter. Now let me introduce our first speaker for today. He's Mr. Chandar Khanduja. He's the CIO at Luminous Power Technologies and has nearly 25 years of experience in enterprise-wide technology initiatives. His particular areas of expertise are IT strategy, digitization, IoT, and the SAP ecosystem. In his long and distinguished career, he has been facilitated with numerous awards and he has published many articles in leading magazines. Prior to Luminous, Mr. Khanduja has worked with organizations like Excite, Becton Dickinson, and Seagram in a variety of IT leadership roles. Today, Mr. Khanduja will share with us his experiences in planning and implementing a hybrid cloud. And in his talk, he will cover issues like how to make platform choices, select vendors, and manage the transition. So over. So before I hand over to Mr. Khanduja, I would just like to request everyone that please post your questions for him in the chat box. We will take them up at the end of the session. So over to you, Mr. Khanduja.
Okay. Thanks, Girdhar and Sachin, for inviting me for this talk. And obviously, I recall coming to various events by 9.9 when they were done in person. I think it is I think it is second or third event where you have invited me for virtual. But looks like this virtual interaction is there to stay. I think it's not something which is only there for a few months. But looking at the current situation, this is going to stay for long. And basically, let me talk about the my cloud I would say experiences. I recall around about 5 years back when we used to discuss among all the CIOs regarding cloud, we used to say, okay, it is important for any landscape. Like it gives you a kind of a opex and a opportunity in case you have capex concerns. I think these were the thought processes I recall 5 years back we used to discuss. But I see 2 years back, we started thinking, okay, if we want to start a digital journey, cloud is going to be a very, very essential part of the digital journey. So this was a thought process. Once we say, okay, we want to have an accelerate journey 2 years back, let's be on cloud to have agility, to have speed. But I would say last 7 or 8 months, I would say now we are saying, thank God we are on cloud. I think that is the shift whereby I would vouch for most of my CIO friends whom I have been speaking. Everyone says, thank God we are on cloud last 8 months. So it is not only a digital journey which we have talked about, which was important for being on cloud. Now, I think we never thought for keeping the lights on. Earlier, cloud will become an essential item. So now, I would say in last 8 months, I think the other benefits which are there, which probably I will discuss during my presentation, I think leave them aside. Just to survive, I think that has become to keep the lights on for your business, you have to be on cloud. So let me just, I'm not a very technical person. I'm more of a business person. So in case you have two technical questions, probably you will have vendor experts to answer them. But I'm a business guy. So my presentation is also very simple and which is in a very simple language. So pardon me for being too non-technical in a technical roundup. Okay. So let me show you, start with my is it visible? My presentation is visible? Giri or Sachin,
Yes,
can you?
we are able to see your presentation.
Okay, thanks. So I think the question has been cloud or clouds, because I recall we used to discuss. Okay, I have started a cloud journey. Then we started talking about I'll say multiple clouds. Then we started talking about hybrid clouds. I think this is where the distinction has to be clearly made, because I have seen different vendors or even different people use hybrid and multiple cloud interchangeability. But my understanding is, if you are using the same kind of a public cloud, either you use any of the vendors, whether it's Azure or Google, or you use AWS. So, and you're using a public cloud, or if you're using a multiple flavors of public cloud, then you are having a multi-cloud strategy. Then the third part comes in once you start coming to on the hybrid cloud. So hybrid is where you have different clouds, whether it's a private, it's an on-prem, and or it is your public. So having those flavors, I think this is where the hybrid cloud comes into picture, and it's all about balance. If you see my slide, whereby I have mentioned everything is about balance, because there is no, I would say, someone says, okay, what kind of a balance I should have in my IT architecture. It clearly depends upon the kind of applications you have. I think very important aspect is probably which will work for one company might not work for you. So it is important to understand the aspects you have in different, I would say, flavors of cloud, whether it's a private cloud or a public cloud or a hybrid. But most of the organization, I would say almost 70 to 80% of the organizations today, this what I'm sharing is with my experience of speaking to most of my COI community. Most of them are kind of looking at a hybrid kind of cloud. The reason is, once you look at hybrid cloud, because you already have a lot of things which are on-prem. And obviously, businesses are still not, I would say, very comfortable to put everything on public cloud. But now it has become an essentiality. I think we would have clearly seen during these COVID times, your data center operations, because people can't visit data center. Call centers were closed. So if you are having an on-prem architecture, you can very well imagine, or backups or DR. So I'm saying your essential database services, your data center services, your application services, if they were hosted on cloud, you are able to kind of your businesses were able to survive. But you'll still have a lot of architecture which will be lying on your I would say on-prem. So, whenever you take a decision, I think people say cloud services can drive cost savings, but I think the main value is there once you support. When the cloud decision is not an infrastructure decision. So my request for all the IT persons is, whenever you take a cloud decision, please have it in mind, it's a business transformation decision. So whenever you are taking agenda, okay, I need to go a cloud way. So what are my KPIs? I think very important is to look at KPIs whenever you decide a cloud journey. If you say, okay, I want to move towards a private cloud, then I think you should be very clear. Okay, I want to move to a private cloud because you have certain, I'll say, information which you are not very sure whether you want to put in a public cloud. So let me put it, rather than putting in on premise, let me put it on a private cloud. So definitely there are certain advantages which come about with that, as you have your own dedicated instances. You are going to have your own firewalls going through that. You can put in your own security policies. So it is like your own hardware which has been put on a hosting server, but it is exclusively for you. But what is going to happen is it's going to have higher cost. I think that is very, very important. It is going to have higher cost. So you need to take a very, very calculated decision whether you want to go to towards a private cloud way or not, because the Indian market is still very, very sensitive towards cost. So it's important, once ever we take a call, we should look at for a private cloud. So you have to look at, okay, it's going to have a cost or not. Then I think the second part comes in, which most of the Indian companies are today going, is a hybrid way. Because in hybrid, you're not putting everything on a I'll say public cloud, but you are choosing certain applications which you think like where you can have a decision. Okay, in case I want to put in my backups which I'm taking on premise, let me take it on a cloud, so I can move it to some kind of public cloud. Or there are various applications, like if you're a SAP customer, like SAP SuccessFactors is a classic example of a public cloud, or SAP I would say Fieldglass, or if you're using Ariba. So all these flavors are there, whereby you are not able to customize your applications too much, but you have moved it to a public cloud so that they can interact with your on-premise SAP. In case you have a on-premise SAP hardware S4 HANA, so they will be able to interact with that. But also what happens is certain times you say, okay, fine, I don't want to have an on-premise S4 HANA hardware architecture, but still I want a security. So this is where people go in for a HANA Enterprise Cloud. That becomes your private cloud. So again, once your public cloud, a private cloud, and on-premise are integrated together, so you would start having a feel of, okay, how do I coexist? And that is what is, I call it hybrid, and it's everything is about balance. So let me come to a very, very simple example, I think, whereby, which will make everyone understand. Suppose you have to make a choice for a pizza. You say, so you have a choice, you can make it at home also. So if you're making pizza at home, so you require a dining table, you want to drink a soda along with that, you want electric gas, you want oven, fire, so everything is there. So it is, you kind of visualize, it is your on-premise hardware. So it is like a on-premise hardware whereby you are trying to arrange for a pizza. Then again, you say, okay, fine, let me take another approach. No, I don't want to make it at home. I just want everything should be, let me just go out and have it. So then it becomes, so imagine it becomes like your public cloud. So in case you are just putting all your, I would say, requirements, and you're not taking any ownership, whereby you say, okay, I'll just go outside, I'll dine out. Dining table is again belonging to the vendor, whatever gas, oven, fire, pizza dough, and everything. So there are the two extreme choices you make. One is on-prem, and another is you say, okay, a total public cloud. Then comes the topic we were talking about is a hybrid. So where you have different choices, whereby you say, okay, certain services you will have it in-house, and certain services you can have it out, kind of outsource. So this is a very classic example whereby people generally get confused about what is IaaS, what is platform as a service. So this is a very, very nice example. Okay, in case you say, okay, I only have, I just want pizza to be delivered, and so that I want to eat at my home. Rest, everything you manage. So, okay, you are just kind of, I would say, outsource a very smaller part of it, whereby you use a PaaS kind of a thing. So you imagine like GST. So I'm giving you an example. Suppose GST based, many people have launched their platform for GST, platform as a service, like DigiGST is there, which EY did. So it is what? It's a classic PaaS, whereby the rest everything is there, you just using their platform. So similarly, if you want to have a I would say a flavor whereby you say, okay, no, I don't want to have too much of on-prem, but I want to have a balance, whereby I would say 50% should be with me, and 50% I am going to have on a cloud. So here you will have something like infrastructure as a service, whereby you will say, okay, dining table, suppose you are planning to eat pizza. So you say, okay, I will take it and bake it. So this is very, I will say, very simply explained how you're able to kind of have this journey for hybrid. Because what happens is, in case of hybrid, imagine your workloads are kind of changing very frequently. And so what happens, you have a public cloud, then you are able to manage those workloads using your public cloud, whereas you have some kind of a very less volatile kind of a architecture, or more sensitive ones, that you can have on a private cloud or on a on-premise data center. So I'm saying it's very important whenever you decide. So this is an example I gave for a pizza, was the reason, so that you decide, okay, these are my critical workloads. For less sensitive workloads, okay, I will do it in-house or on a private cloud. Or these are the ones which are, I would say, require a lot of dynamic, processing is required. I am not able to plan for its, I would say, capacity. So let me put it on a public cloud. Like you take example of a big data processing. So you are not able to continuously, you are not having near constant volumes. So where you will take a call, okay, I want to do my big data strategy. Why not on a public cloud? Because my data volumes are not stagnant. So I think that is a right way of looking at how would you like to balance your loads. So I think the call on this is, whenever you take a call for a hybrid cloud, I think you need to look at your workloads. Very essential. You have to look at what is your business requirement. Because suppose a business is doing continuous, I would say, digital campaigns. There you can have your core data of your customers, probably which does not change on your on-premise. But if you're doing a campaign, that campaign data you can put on cloud. And thereby, I think that hybrid cloud strategy works very well, because there you're able to have advantages of both. Because suppose you are having you're launching e-commerce sales, so suddenly a lot of traffic would start coming in. I think the right way is put it on a public cloud. Depending upon the traffic, you are able to kind of use it. And also it's very cost effective, because you see, many companies take a call whereby they put their dev and quality, I would say, servers on public cloud, and they put their production servers on either private cloud or on-prem. And what happens is, you can do a kind of pay-per-use kind of a thing, because your dev and quality you'll not be using for all the times. So I think it's a wise decision. If only 8 hours in a day you're doing a development and quality, why should you pay for, I would say, the 365 days of usage? So I think whenever you take these strategy calls, please go through your workloads, your requirement, and then take a very calculated call. I think that once you do that, then this, I would say, this journey is going to help you. And now the question comes in, whereby you say, okay, fine, now I have decided, yes, I'm going to go ahead and towards the cloud journey. So how should I look for a partner? I think that question is like choosing any service partner. Because whenever you choose any service partner, what do you look forward to? You look forward to, okay, what are certifications this guy has? Because in cloud area, a lot of certification standards are there. Okay, and what are his technology and service roadmap? Then you look at what are their partnerships. Because if you are having I would say, cloud product, so what are your partnerships? Say you are a cloud company, what are your partnerships with SAP? What are your partnerships with Oracle? What are your partnerships with other I would say, software OEMs? Because you are into a interportability world, so you need to see that. You need to look at the reliability and performance. Very important thing is look at contracts and commercials. And not to be, I would say, ignored is SLAs. I think that becomes very important. Because here, if you are having an on-prem, you feel, okay, I have control, I can manage it. So very important, look at SLAs. I think very important thing is, again, their migration capabilities. Because you already have a lot of things on-prem, later on you're shifting to cloud, so you need to look at migration capabilities of your partner. Because if they don't have a migration capability, you might be stuck in your journey. And a very important point is, you should have exit contract, I will say, clause. Very important. Because generally you should do a long-standing cloud contracts, but you should. I think that is the advantage of a cloud, whereby it gives you at least for a public cloud. In private cloud, you have to do a kind of a lock-in kind of negotiations. So public clouds give you advantages of doing exit in a I would say, if it's not working out for you, probably 3 months, 6 months. So I think it's very, very important. A choice of partner and a choice of I would say all cloud players are alike, whosoever it is there. But I think choice of partner becomes very, very important. I think once you falter in that, your entire journey can get go for a toss. So I think a lot of due diligence is required once we look for a choice of a partner. So I think, as I told you, my slides are more of a non-technical in nature. I think you have to choose your ride now, because there is no choice. And I'm sure, I think most of you guys have already taken a choice of your ride. But it's important that the ride is having a most of the, I would say, companies have their 60 to 70% of workloads already in cloud. I have seen Gartner's report, which they predicted. There was a report around about 2 years back. They said almost 60 to 70% of workloads will shift to cloud. But this COVID has really, I would say, accelerated the journey. So my prediction, personal prediction, looking at my architecture, is almost 80% of workloads are going towards the cloud way, and hybrid is a way to go. And I think this is my brief presentation, whereby I have tried to explain you in a very simple terms the cloud, I would say, architecture. So in case you have any questions on chat, I'll be happy to answer. Over to you, Giri.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Kanduja. That was a very interesting talk, and thank you for providing those useful insights. I'm sure all the participants will find them very useful. I'll just remind everyone to please post their queries for Mr. Kanduja in the chat box. We'll take them up after the following speakers have completed their talks. We'll take up all the questions at the end of this session. It's my pleasure now to introduce Mr. Romin Irani, who's partner engineer at Google Cloud. Romin's role involves supporting and enabling partners on the portfolio of solutions available through the Google Cloud platform. He's a technical expert, and he has more than 25 years of experience in roles ranging from software developer to solutions architect. Today, he will be talking about the architecture of hybrid clouds and the benefits of using the services available through the Google Cloud platform. May I once again remind everyone, please post your questions for Romin in the chat box, and we'll take them up at the end of the session. So over to you, Romin.
Thank you, Girdhar. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Just let me know once you're able to see the presentation.
Yes, we are able to see you.
Okay. You're able to see infrastructure and app modernization
Yes,
on Google? Okay.
yes.
All right. So thank you for the introduction, and welcome everyone. I'm Romin Irani. I work as a partner engineer at Google Cloud. And today, what I'll be talking about is two areas, specifically infrastructure and also how you can modernize your applications as you move on to the cloud. And I'll talk about different capabilities, different features that we have within Google Cloud that make some of these things possible. So first up, right, I just wanted to highlight the key things that make Google Cloud different. There are obviously various cloud providers in the market today, but what are things that differentiate Google Cloud from the other cloud platform providers? And here are some key points which I'll touch upon briefly right now. So first up, as you can see, right, I mean, security is of importance to any organization that wants to trust their applications and data, in the cloud. So as a result of that, for us, security is number one. And across our suite of products, whether it's to do with right from hardware chips to the data, plus the different applications API, including our operations, we ensure that security is there at every level. That's what we are calling the layered defense security, is there right across. Hybrid and multi-cloud is there as part of our theme today. And that's where we believe, and I have a few slides coming up later, where our flagship product called Anthos, how it addresses that in a way where it's a software defined architecture, it's based on open source technologies, and it ensures that the teams, whether they are running applications on premises or even in Google Cloud, get a single unified view of everything that they're running, are able to manage it from one central place, and it just eases the way you can apply security, your operations, your processes, and thereby keep innovating at a faster pace. The third one, which you see over here, fully managed NoOps. This is all about the fact that essentially we want organizations to focus on their business. We want organizations to focus on their applications more rather than spending their time, trying to manage the infrastructure and the whole operations aspect around it. So what you find across a variety of services in our platform is that they are fully managed. That means Google is managing the whole infra side of things, just helping you scale as you would grow. But also more and more we'll do sensible defaults for you so that you don't have to sort of tweak it. Plus you can get started in an instance. What this means is to get started is easier. To scale also is something that we take care of. And thereby, even if you want to do sort of small POCs or just sort of try the agility and the speed at which your teams can try out features. You have been seeing some of the innovations that we have been doing as far as machine learning is concerned across several consumer products. So whether it's a search in Google or whether it's even search or recommendations within YouTube and other consumer products that we have. For example, if you're using Gmail, then you also know that we are able to do the predictive or assistive typing, word correction, so on and so forth, right? So if you see, this is when it comes to AI ML, we've been doing it for a while. This sort of goes into various consumer products of ours, but now the same suite of services, whether you're an organization just starting out on AI ML or even an organization that's already embarked on your ML journey and have a team that's capable, we have a full spectrum of services there which you can take advantage of. And finally, Google is known for its culture of innovation, the different processes, the different tools and systems that it has released over the years. So the best of Google that we have, even when we have these tools internally, at each point in time, we've taken the conscious decision to bring some of these technologies, open source them out, release it to the public, and let them also take advantage. So however small you may be, you can start taking advantage of some of these innovative products that we have initially produced for ourselves, our own internal consumption, but have then opened it up for others. So these are the key differences, for Google Cloud. Moving forward, this just gives you an overview of the infrastructure that we have built. This infrastructure is the same infra that is powering, some of the largest consumer apps, which most of you are using on a daily basis. But imagine the same infra that we've built for our apps, this infra is available to you for your own applications when you start using Google Cloud Platform. So the availability, the reach, the different regions, the zones that you see over here, including the some which are coming up in the future too, that's the kind of private network that we have built. And this is the same infra, the highly available one that's available to you for your applications on GCP. Now, to run this kind of infrastructure, we have obviously learned a few things while running some of those consumer apps at scale. So again, it's secure by default, whether data is at rest or in transit, it's encrypted by default. Plus, we understand that for most enterprises, confidentiality of their data is extremely important. So when we talk about data protection, the second point which you see over here, when we say redaction, we understand sometimes it's financial data that should not be visible, to applications or even certain groups of users. So we've got actually predefined detectors. Think about, PAN numbers, or think about any confidential financial data, etc. You can actually redact it. So basically, you hash out or asterisk it out, and then we kind of identify that data, ensure it's protected, ensure that no one inadvertently, starts looking at it, and even a complete audit log in full transparency from that aspect. So no wonder, we have been consistently rated at the top when it comes to data security. So the essence of this slide really is that the best-in-class infrastructure that which the Google apps run on, That's the same infrastructure that you have when you start moving not just your core infrastructure, but even as you move along in your digitization journey, as you have modernized your applications, use more and more services, you're on the same fundamental network that's secure and can scale at global level. Now, first up, I just wanted to talk about when it comes to core infrastructure, right? There are multiple things that we do to help differentiate from other cloud providers. So it's generally known out there that virtual machines are typically a commodity. It's all about giving you a VM with a certain vCPU memory configuration. You install your apps and you're good to go. We would like to slightly differ over here. So first up, that earlier slide that I talked about, which gives you the power of our global network. But additionally, there are many things that you see over here that we are doing on a constant basis to ensure that you get the best value for the dollar that you're spending for virtual machines on Google Cloud. So I can start off with saying that we've got a variety of VM sizes or t-shirt types, so various combinations of vCPU, RAM, etc. that's available to you in a price competitive fashion. But more than that, the third point which you see over here is a huge differentiator for us, which is custom machine types. We don't want you to always overcommit or overspend on your infrastructure, which you don't end up utilizing. So what we do is, once we start understanding how you use your virtual machines vis-a-vis the CPU and memory usage, we give you an ability to downsize, to say, okay, it's recommended right sizing, the last point you see here. But however, if you already know what you precisely want in terms of vCPU and RAM, you have something called custom machine types that lets you precisely choose a vCPU RAM combination, thereby giving you exactly what you want, but also helping you to save money. Apart from that, we've got various 1 year, 3 year commits. Earlier we had Mr. Chandra talking about the fact that you could enter into a contract to get better discounts. So that's what we're talking about, the whole committed use discounts over here. Apart from that, preemptible, again, when you're running big data batch workloads, we give you this special feature whereby we give you a huge discount for VMs that could be partially taken down for a few seconds, so on and so forth. And of course, the whole right sizing aspect. So if you see here, right, if you see in the graph, it's continuously across time. We're helping you right size, select the right kind of machines infra for your workloads, and thereby saving you cost. Now, moving on to the whole hybrid sort of a scenario now, which is that, in terms of this particular slide, organizations that are today running, applications on-premise, and especially applications which are legacy in nature, they, from this graph, as you can see, they take they give you a big hit in terms of, when you want to innovate things. So especially some of the areas which you mentioned over here, it's not just about cost efficiency, but also you need to ensure that you're constantly meeting some of the security compliance requirements. Then you need your teams to be agile to release and ship features much more faster. We believe that at some point in time, right, the industry has sort of converged upon containers as a common denominator to move things forward here. Thereby, there are various innovations that we gave out in terms of Kubernetes, which is the whole managed platform around containers, and thereby the whole managed version of it, which was Google Container Engine. And I'll come to it in a while, where we think, eventually how you can run hybrid applications in a consistent manner, plus giving you the agility. So that's our platform called Anthos. And I'll come to the whole diagram in a while, but it's really platforms like Anthos that not just save you the cost in terms of running these operations in a hybrid manner, but also time. Because finally what you're doing is you're coming from an application development aspect to have a common way to deploy your application. So the whole build, release, testing processes for your teams become sort of standardized, thereby resulting in this whole operations efficiency. The second thing that's going to be out there is that, when I'll talk about the diagram in a while, Anthos lets you look at your applications or clusters, whether they're running on-premise, in our cloud, or even other clouds, in a consistent standard fashion. This makes sure, right, that your teams are able to manage it much more easily. They are able to have a single control plane by which they can manage all these clusters, and thereby one place from you to both deploy, build, release, monitor your applications. So when it comes to the modern application development stack, especially Anthos, there are few things that it's clearly focused on, right? We do not want to have you locked into any proprietary technologies. We want this to be a platform on which is based on open source standards. So Anthos looks at Kubernetes as a container platform, Istio for the service mesh, there's Docker for the containers, and so on, right? Other than that, I talked a little bit earlier about the whole thing about how you can do it faster. But the whole point here is that you have a single place from which you can manage applications, push your policies in a consistent manner, manage your security in one place, so on and so forth. Again, remember, one of the key things which you see about analytics and AI service, once you're on the platform, the entire Google Cloud Platform services open up for you. So whether it's the AI ML services and so on and so forth, right? You can start tapping into it. So you can start initially with modernizing your applications. Then as you come on to the cloud, start using about our other services to make it, as you go along in your digitization journey. So there's no end to it. But remember, the platform that you have today, that is Google Cloud Platform, is invested in a way that you can start moving and utilizing more and more services as you go in your journey. So this is the screen that I was talking about, that what does Anthos really do? If there is one particular, sort of screen you go back with, this is what I want you to understand. So at the top, you've got Anthos, which is our, complete suite over there. But look at what's happening, at the bottom. These are really clusters, if I may call so. There's a cluster running in Google Cloud. There's a cluster of services that's running on-prem in your data center, even other public clouds, and potentially even on edge locations. As you can see, as long as you standardize on containers, we provide a particular version that's running on each of these clouds. And from one single control plane that runs inside of Google Cloud, you can do all of the points that you're seeing on top. You manage this whole, suite of clusters. You can push policies in a consistent manner. You can do the whole which applications or which services, where you want to push them, how you want to scale, and end-to-end observability. So with our Stackdriver or Operations Suite product, you can actually see all the logs, unify them, dashboards, alerts, all from one particular place. So this is what it standardizes on. This is where we believe is a huge value add, because you're continuing to use the tools, etc., that you want, but containers is a common denominator, and then this management layer, Anthos on top, makes this possible. Again, to summarize, there have been, there's a huge adoption both for our platform services, whether it's infrastructure services or even, it's Anthos or even data analytics and many other, solutions that we have. We've seen good adoption, both, in not just from a geographical point of view, but also across various industries. And maybe I just wanted to touch upon, if you see financial services, right? These are also companies that have put a huge premium on the security aspect, on the data confidentiality aspect. So they do a lot of due diligence before putting anything on the cloud. So that's a good testament to our product or platform too. That's what I had from my side. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Romin, for providing a succinct overview of the Google Cloud Platform. I'm sure many of the delegates would be interested in the wide portfolio of features and functionality that is on offer. So to provide more information on the GCP portfolio applications and services, we have Mr. Girish Sharma, Product Line Head Cloud Services from NetMagic. To quickly introduce Girish, Girish has over 10 years of work experience, and he's been with NetMagic since 2010. His areas of interest are cloud computing and infrastructure solutions. And over the years, he's worked with a number of clients to implement various cloud and NetMagic solutions. So in his presentation today, Girish will examine what are CIOs looking for in hybrid cloud solutions, what are the strategies to deploy and optimize hybrid environments, and what are the services available from NetMagic and GCP. So over to you, Girish, for your presentation.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Giri. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, I'm able to see your screen. Thank you.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. And it has been a privilege to be here with 9.9 and be on this panel with Mr. Chandar, Romin, and Giri. So hybrid IT is the way forward. We really heard the earlier two speakers, and I would like to concur. You heard Mr. Chandar say, pointing out that nearly 80%, right, of the people are already in the hybrid IT space. I really concur, and I want to substantiate it that one of the survey, very recent survey said that 63% of the IT organizations are already in the hybrid cloud. Even of the remaining 37%, more than half, to be precise, 54% are have already planned hybrid IT. So that takes me to a close figure of 81% overall, much above 80%. The point I want to drive is we are discussing hybrid IT today. It's an interesting area. A lot of IT organizations are already doing it. So as part of this masterclass, I would like to discuss with you that why is it picking up, and how we at NetMagic along with Google, how we are bringing it on ground, right? So there are many CIOs started demanding hybrid IT for various reasons. The kind of benefits, we heard the kind of benefits. It might be a cost benefit, it might be the business transformation that you're looking at. You have some business KPIs which an hybrid IT solution can help you with, right? At the same time, it is no lock-in kind of strategy that you can think of. You get really an increased speed to market, right? And what I look at hybrid IT, which I'm going to discuss in detail with you as we move forward, is that you're never you have got multiple options to pick and choose from, not one size fits all. As you heard earlier that it should be workload specific, right? So while bringing hybrid IT to the ground, we as NetMagic along with Google, what we really see is what are the challenges which IT organizations will be facing, and how do we help them overcome those challenges to bring it on ground and make it the right and successful project for IT organizations out there. So many issues like integration, security, your data integrity. You have to ensure that application compatibility is there when you're migrating it to an hybrid IT landscape, right? From your typical on-premises private cloud or bare metal infrastructure silos that you have been running on. If you're thinking of because hybrid IT has been interchangeably used along with multi-cloud. I also use it interchangeably along with multiple infrastructure silos that you think of using together. So that's how when I move from hybrid cloud to hybrid IT, I would like to encompass a broader framework which talks about hybrid cloud, which talks about multi-cloud, which talks about encompassing multiple IT infrastructure silos together. So security is one thing that you have to patch up, regulatory compliances, and how do you monitor and govern all these silos together to give rise to your business KPI targets achievement, right? So I'm being precise that it is a business transformation, right? So how do you achieve those business KPIs while overcoming these challenges? So we at NetMagic, when we started embracing hybrid IT, we understood that it's a multi-cloud approach, it's a multi-IT infrastructure silos approach where one size does not fit all. So right from a bare metal, customer will need private cloud, they will need public clouds. Even in public cloud, they will need hyperscale clouds like Google, which has got its own inherent wonderful capabilities that we heard of, right? At the same time, you will think of more DevOps, by whether in a private cloud or in a hyperscale cloud like Google. So right from bare metal to container, your workloads have varying needs. How do you address them? At the same time, we heard about migration services today, but I will not limit it only to migration services. While bringing hybrid IT on ground, you also need business resiliency services, or you might call them as disaster recovery as a service or data protection service, you might want to call it. How do you ensure network connectivity? How do you ensure a uniform managed services across them all? Because ultimately, you not only you want to change to hybrid IT, you have to do the lights on operations continuously with that. I think the approach is very simple. When you're thinking of hybrid IT, of course, you have to plan for it. You have to plan for it in terms of the business transformation that you are looking at. You have to clearly set the business KPIs. All right. What we do is those customers who have set the right kind of business expectations, we consult them. And after that, we design the new hybrid IT landscape for them, and we take care of the migration to a new landscape. Not only we migrate to that, we build the entire new landscape, and also players like us, along with Google, when we bring hybrid IT to our customers, we actually ensure that it is not only a migration, it is not only a one-time transaction, it is also we are running it and we are continuously optimizing it. Because see, I think what I always tell people is, businesses, which are facing a current situation, which you see, businesses are dynamic. They are driven by consumers, and consumers are again driven by external situations, which are very dynamic. Consumer behavior changes, businesses changes, and businesses will have to adapt to that. So that's where hybrid IT bring that agility. So we not only do bring hybrid IT, we also run it and continuously optimize it to stay relevant. That's what I wanted to drive it. Now, moving forward, what I'll do is I will want to cover few specific use cases around hybrid IT and how was it leveraged by customers, and how did it benefit them. So we are a partner with Google, as I told you that we follow that multi-cloud approach, and we have been a managed services partner across India for Google. We also partner with them on their G Suite range of offering. We also partner with them offering entire Google Cloud product portfolio that we heard from Romin, right? When we talk about enabling our customers, one of the key things that we look forward to is, while bringing, a part of multi-cloud, say Google Cloud, you want to leverage capabilities from Google Cloud. We build those capabilities along with managed services, so that you can actually consume them in a managed services model, right? You heard wonderful examples today, so I want to build upon that what you heard today, that we can help you bake your right pizza to the business KPIs that you're looking forward to. So that's what we do. Not only all Google capabilities we bring on ground, we are able to manage them for you. Recently, due to COVID-19 situation, we saw that one of the things, suddenly a lot of customers came to us and they said that, we immediately want to move on to VDI. I specifically want to bring this to your knowledge, that what we experienced with VDI on Google Cloud, that the key benefit that hybrid IT can bring to you is a very faster deployment, right? When our customers came to us, unlike earlier VDI deployment where we planned the private cloud, and then we bought the licenses and the hardware for our customers and then put the project in deployment and then they are live. The altogether a different experience was with us for our customers, that we could quickly go live on VDI using the Etopia on Google Cloud. So that was a wonderful example which told us that when businesses needed right kind of VDI, we could immediately deliver it. So one of the takeaway points from us might be that hybrid IT can really increase your, can really bring down your time to market. All right. So, the time to market becomes very faster. It might be a forced situation or you're adapting to your changing consumer requirements, right? So that was one of the key points. I also want to bring SAP into picture here on the hybrid IT landscape, right? So we heard about, SAP initially from Mr. Chandar. So very good point. What we realized in hybrid IT when we started offering SAP HANA, and now we are proudly, partnering with 200 plus IT organizations in delivering SAP HANA services to them. What we did is, really, see, hybrid IT is also a mix of different infrastructure silos, right? SAP HANA is a typical example. Your application layer, you have dev and QA databases, and you have production databases. What we did is, with a lot of customers, the application layer altogether was on a HANA cloud with our place. The dev and QA databases might be on a HANA TDI, and your production databases might be altogether on an HANA appliance. And all these three silos are interconnected in line with SAP KPI of high-speed 10 gig link, and you can use them together. So not only you can be in a single SAP HANA cloud, you can distribute and be in a TDI and appliance at the same time. A very classical use of hybrid IT for us, that you can mix and match these IT infrastructure silos, and at the same time, you can actually ensure your cost efficiency. On the other hand, if you want to start small, you can totally be in SAP HANA cloud, right? So that was a very good use case for us. And really, means I say that over a period of last 2 to 3 years, we could actually, partner with 200 plus IT organizations and ensure that they go through the SAP HANA journey. Now, when I take it one step ahead, SAP services on Google Cloud, you heard that now SAP SuccessFactors is there, right? Very easy integration, but even if you deploy SAP in Google Cloud, you get an ease of integration with SuccessFactors, right? So this is how we see that even SAP HANA workload, which is very critical to IT organizations, can be delivered very smoothly using hybrid IT. And partners like NetMagic, we feel that be it SAP on GCP or be it delivering SAP on NetMagic premises in the hybrid IT infrastructure, which I spoke about, we are very open in our managed services approach to customer, that both the environment and even migration between them, or even a unified experience along with SAP SuccessFactors, is always smooth, right? Another beautiful example, which I want to bring in hybrid IT, which we experimented with and we were successful with this, is Oracle databases, right? So what if some of the customers want to leverage their application layer in Google Cloud, but they want to have their Oracle databases hosted in a data center? So I'm using data center word because gone are the days where I feel that the customers are using only and only on-premises infrastructure. As part of a standard approach, we see more and more of them are moving to data centers. So you can host your Oracle database in a data center like us, right? In a physical machine, because you want to leverage the full performance of Oracle database, or you want to cut down on the cost of Oracle licensing, whatever the reason might be, you have a right IT landscape there. Using Google Interconnect, you can connect to your application layer in Google Cloud. A beautiful use case of hybrid IT, right, for customers, that they can use multiple capabilities of Google Cloud while at the same time ensuring the bare metal performance of a physical server to cater to Oracle database. So that's about simply ODB. So what we thought in all these cases, which I gave you an example, that there are multiple services which go hand in hand while bringing hybrid IT on ground. So for example, Google Interconnect, you want to connect to the hyperscale cloud, you will need an interconnect which should be high speed, highly available, right, which you require to connect to your other application silos or which are available in the Google Cloud, right? You need managed services, you need Google Cloud services for their other part of the infrastructure, you need overall managed services to manage both the pieces, which is either your on-premises or in data center and in a hyperscale cloud like Google. So you need managed services so that you get that uniform experience, right? You have someone who has the expertise to manage this infrastructure for you in conjunction end to end. On top of that, security. Yes, while moving to these hybrid IT landscape, you don't want to compromise on your policies. You don't want to compromise on any of your security framework that you have laid out for yourself. People like NetMagic, while bringing hybrid IT, we practice 24/7 security operations center at our place, and we ensure that basic elements like UTM and firewall to a dedicated security operations center for customer. You really meet your compliance requirements. So I think why I drive this point is, while thinking of hybrid IT, many people think of compliance as a major driving criteria, and we should stick to that. Why only stick to hybrid IT? Why not move one step ahead? I spoke about run and optimize. So we use services like Simply Insight, that while you're running, what can further be optimized? So you have moved to hybrid IT, but can it be further optimized? Because you want to stay agile, you don't want any lock-ins, you even want to be free to move in from one place to another. How do you do that? How do you bring a single visualization for yourself so that you can see through your hybrid IT? So that's where we bring services like Simply Insight. So I hope you can appreciate that. How do we bring all these services wrapped around to bring hybrid IT on the ground and meet the challenges that you're thinking of? I spoke about security services, right? So a plethora of security services, right? From it might be a basic appliance, where basic antivirus or a UTM or a firewall, to a cloud-based or appliance-based DDoS. But we cater to all those security services while taking you to a hybrid IT on ground, right? Not only this, when even you are in hybrid IT, you heard about multi-cloud, right? A lot of people now use multi-cloud like a failover, right? The primary is in one cloud and your DR might be in another cloud. It might be possible that your primary is in your private cloud in a data center like us, totally managed by us, and your DR might be in a Google Cloud, right? So just to give an example, that such business continuity as a service, I call it that as a resilient services. So such services to connect with disaster recovery as a service also, you can bring in a hybrid IT landscape, and you can ensure much higher uptimes at a much optimized cost there, right? I spoke about compliances. So we, like, even for example, I give you an example of SAP. So we ensure that we have three certification of SAP, right, that include SAP certified and SAP HANA operations, or SAP cloud and infrastructure, or SAP hosting services. So we carry such certifications beside routine ISO certifications of CSA star security. We encompass hybrid IT with all these certifications in place, so that customers can be assured that while you're moving to a multi-cloud, everything should be governed by your policies regarding security and the compliance. Right. So I think what really matters, you heard in the earlier presentation that partners should be capable of doing the managed services. So on that note, I introduced that we have been in the Indian IT services space, delivering to our customers, now having 2,300 plus customers, right, and we have been a trusted partner to multiple enterprises. So on that note, that's all from my side on hybrid IT. But I really encourage to you, with all the examples that I have given, that hybrid IT is coming on ground. What you heard from us, there's 80% plus organizations already embracing hybrid IT. So I think you should be in the swim, and you should be able to leverage it, right from a bare metal to container. We are there to help you. So thank you so much for allowing me to share my views here. Back to you, Giri.
Yeah, thank you, Girish, for your talk. We can now take up the questions posed by the delegates. The first question is probably for Roman. It's from Jigne Udvadia. He says, what are the steps to convince senior management to shift to cloud storage for sensitive industries like broking and banking?
Okay. So if I just want to repeat the question, what would be some of the points or steps that we can use and discuss with executives if they're sort of concerned when they have to move their data to the cloud, especially for financial organizations that are sensitive to this?
Correct.
So there are multiple things that you could address. So first up, keep in mind that data locality could be an issue. So we've got our services that are running in various regions of the world. So for example, if data needs to reside in India region, so you can accordingly select the region and the zone, that ensures that data remains within the region. A second thing you can also talk about, and which is available at our website, is or public documentation, is that our cloud is also certified for various, third-party accreditations. Compliance certificates are there. So there's a complete list, when it comes to HIPAA or even credit card information or any other kind of thing. Also, how we handle that data, how our entire operations takes care of how we store data, how we retain it, so on and so forth. Third area, there are various, I'll just take 3 to 5 which are important. Another thing organizations are concerned about is about anything that is done with their data. So as far as Google Cloud and its privacy policy is concerned, we are very clear. All your data belongs to organizations. We've got very strict rules in the way you sort of store your data. We do not use it for any other purposes. Also, you can also bring your own keys to the table so that even Google can't access it. Furthermore, we've got various tools that give you full transparency into every operation that's happening on your data, who's accessing what, so on and so forth. And then of course, there's this whole data loss prevention API where we ensure that the data is sort of masked or redacted when it comes to certain data that you would want to prevent other users from looking at it. And finally, we are seeing scenarios also where even if you cannot move to the cloud due to various reasons, or whether it's legacy apps or absolutely some restrictions, there is always the hybrid model that you could use where you can continue to use some of those applications on premise, whereas still tap into other services in Google Cloud so that it gives you the best of both worlds. So hopefully these are 4 or 5 points that you can talk. Of course, each one is a discussion in itself if you want to go into various tools and services we provide there. Hope that answers it.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. Thanks for those pointers. I would encourage Jigne to touch base with NetMagic or with the folks from GCP to get more information around this. Girish, there's a question for you from Abhijit Tiwari that in our organization we have AWS where we have uploaded our applications. Now we want SIEM from a third-party cloud. Which one can we use and how to do it?
Well, that's a pretty good question for me, and too technical. Right, what I will request Abhijit is definitely, we are offering SIEM solutions from our place, and we are using it with multiple third-party clouds right now. What we can do is I showed you a 24 by 7 security operations center at our place. And I can connect him with the security expert. So if Abhijit can drop in his coordinates for us, because we would like to understand the way they want to use the SIEM in their AWS environment. Because we have been in a multi-cloud environment doing it for other customers. So I see that, but I would love my security expert to take it in detail with Abhijit. But thank you. That's a very valid question regarding security.
So very quickly, we can take one more question because we sort of run out of time. But anyway, this last question we'll take is a question from Udaynathan as to whether you can help to convert a private cloud into a hybrid cloud.
That's for me, right, Giri? You want me to take that?
Yes, that's for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I think it's beautiful. I think I would like to drive one example from my session, which I conducted right now. In a SAP HANA landscape, we saw many customers where you can create a private cloud, a dedicated cluster. For example, even using, say, VMware, you can create a dedicated cluster hosting your application layer, your dev and QA layer, your databases from dev, QA, and production, all of them in a single cluster, giving rise to a private cloud for you. How do you change it? You can actually move your all application layer VMs and especially dev and QA, as you heard in the session, on an elastic model, and you can pay only on an hourly basis, right? And you can actually move out those nodes from the your private cloud. So this is a simple example I can give you that how a private cloud can be converted to a hybrid cloud. Other examples that we see in practices, whenever we see that it's a time to refresh the infrastructure, people might want to keep only critical workloads with them on their premises, which they want to control. All other workloads, either you want to leverage elasticity, you want to leverage on-demand nature, or wherever you can actually move them to cloud. You can interconnect them to your, as we showed you many connectivity services. You can connect to any hyperscale cloud like Google, and you can give rise to a hybrid cloud. I hope that meets your requirement of the response from my side.
Thanks, Girish. So, Chandar, there is one question for you. How important is it to have a proper migration and change management strategy, especially when you're going for a hybrid cloud implementation?
See, I think for any change, you require a change management. And I told you, this is a business transfer. So you have to look at the cloud strategy as a business transformation strategy as well. So it's very, very important. You need to put in your business KPIs. Once you have agreed business KPIs, then I think you should look at your cloud strategy once for your hybrid cloud, because without having only a technical KPI, you might falter, because business KPIs are going to give you a clear insight in how do you go ahead and plan your strategy.
Right. Thank you, Chandan. I think with that, we've run out of time, so we need to bring this session to an end. I would like to thank all our speakers today for taking the time to be here and for sharing their thoughts and views on the subject of accelerating the journey to hybrid cloud. Before we close the session, we would just like to announce the winners of the MCQ quiz that was held earlier. Renuka, could you please display the list of winners of the MCQ quiz? Can we have the winners, please? Yes, you have on your screen the winners of the MCQ quiz. Congratulations to everyone who answered the quiz correctly. You'll all be getting a rupees 500 gift voucher. It will be emailed to you. Thank you so much. Congratulations once again. So on behalf of all CIO Leader and NetMagic and Google Cloud Platform, I want to give my thanks to all the delegates for attending this session and for your active participation. We'll also be sending out the gift vouchers to the 20 individuals who made the most interesting and creative tweets on this session. If you haven't posted a tweet already, here's your final chance. Use the tag #CIO and Leader Masterclass and #Accelerated Digital to tag your tweets so that we know it's from you. And we look forward to seeing those tweets. Meanwhile, with that, we bring this session to an end. Thank you for coming, and we look forward to hosting you at another session soon. Goodbye.